60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 73.
Part man.
Pod machine, all pod. This minute begins with Robocop reaching for Lewis and ends with another news break.
You've missed the most important part of this minute. The 6000 SUX advert.
Well, sadly, that is not in the middle of the minute. Well, that's in the
It's
middle.
exactly
that's
in the middle.
edges.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I have a lot of things to say about this ad break. Before we get into that, though, so the little bit of just Lewis and Robocop together.
I like it.
A lot of purple coming from underneath Robocop's visor. I'm not sure what that is. He's got
It's
a
probably
purple
just some
light in
bounce
there,
light.
maybe. But Lewis is doing an amazing job of carrying Robocop, who must weigh a ton.
Yes.
He is. He's a full-grown man, first of all, but he's now a robot man, and I can only imagine that has added more kilos, not less.
Well, we know that he's got damage to some of his servos, or at least some of the mechanical parts. That's, I can imagine that Robocop can still hold himself. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for this because
he's probably not completely putting his weight on her. She's just kind of guiding him more than anything.
Robocop, even though we don't see it because logistical reasons, Robocop drives a car, and it's not like they do that comical thing where, the suspension dies down because he's that heavy. There's nothing really to suggest that Robocop himself is that heavy. Yes, logistically he would be, just because of all the mechanics and whatever.
Especially 1980s technology.
Yes. But even
he's just... when they first unveil Robocop, he's just Box from Logan's Run. Protein from the sea!
I haven't seen that in so long, I barely remember it. I need to rewatch it, I must admit. I do need to rewatch that.
There's apparently a series of books in there, Buck Wild.
Wow. But I mean, okay, we get a sense of Robocop is heavy because of the dunk, the dunk, the dunk.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, not that bothered. Again, I don't think it's...
So anyway, ad break.
Oh, God.
And, so, dinosaurs in Robocop is more likely than you think. I looked it up. There is a Robosaur.
Yeah.
Published around the same time as the Jurassic Park book. We have Robosaur, the Robocop comic. And I have no idea which one came first, honestly. So I think this actually rewrites history as we know it. Michael Crichton, you piece of shit. You ripped your ideas from Robocop.
I'm going to allow that. That's canon now. No, I was going to say, no, it really does make a lot of sense.
Can we make the title of the episode, Michael Crichton, you piece of shit?
Oh, yeah, I'm all right. Michael. I'm going to have to check the spelling on that.
Crichton.
I thought it was that, but I was almost going to deliberately spell it Crichton. Kryten. Just to fuck with people. So was it Michael Crichton, you piece of shit? No.
I'm very amused with that.
Oh, God, I'm going to have to cut so much. No, it's staying in. No,
I'm sorry to editing Simon. Simon of the future, you're sitting there, you're editing.
Bastard.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, it's like any major craze, Jurassic Park influenced so many imitators. Like how Sledgehammer decided to have a Robocop episode because that's funny. So many people decide to take the piss out of Jurassic Park because that's also very funny. It's inherently...
And then Peter Gabriel made a song called Sledgehammer, and then...
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
The premise of Jurassic Park is pretty dumb, like when you think about it. And that's, I think, half the fun about it.
It's not the most specific concept in the world. No. Wouldn't it be cool if you brought dinosaurs back? Well, what would you do with them? You would make a theme park. I mean, it's not...
It's perfect capitalism critique, which is Robocop to a T. So, no, that's what I mean. Is like, Jurassic Park was a kid's movie to a... It shouldn't have been, but a lot of kids watched it and a lot of kids loved it. So it makes sense.
I think the moment you involve animals in anything, it becomes a kid's thing. Even if it's frickin' Jaws, I don't know why. We just go, animals for children.
Yeah, I love it when like parents just go, they see this gigantic dinosaur skeleton poster and go, yeah, I'll take my kid to see that.
Yeah.
90s parents are fucking wild.
Yeah, I lived through it.
Now, the funny thing I was going to say is, we're both probably going to go off at this advert for completely different reasons, because I know you're going to go off on the car.
And I know you're going to go off on the stop motion.
No. I've got another thing I want to talk about, but go on. I'm going to let you...
Maybe my therapist was right. All I think about is myself. I don't know how other people's brains work.
No, there's one little specific bit of trivia that's very in this thing, and we'll get to that. But I do love the stop... So, no, you bring up stop motion. I do love it because I love that. It's pretty much a direct Ray Harryhausen fun time.
Ray Harryhausen's House of Funhausen.
Yeah.
Shit, is that the title? No.
Oh no, that's... Oh god. I don't know, I kind of like Michael Crichton, you piece of shit.
Yeah, let's see what you're feeling on the day. We won't push it.
Well, I've got two great ones now. Anyway, but I do love that, because we did bring this up when they talked about it in the commentary earlier. The funny thing is I don't even talk about it in the commentary this minute. But yeah, like, both like John and Paul were working on like a Jurassic Park type project. So this was
really?
This was an Easter egg for them essentially as well.
I'm trying to imagine Jurassic Park made 10 years earlier, completely done with stop motion.
It wasn't Jurassic Park. Oh god. So I'm trying to flash back to my notes, but it was like months ago when we recorded it. But it was I think it was the project that eventually led to the Disney movie Dinosaur.
Oh, whoa! I didn't know that went back that far.
Yeah, like, some of these productions go back decades in some cases, like in some form or another. Like someone buys a property, someone buys a script, blah blah blah, gets thrown around, goes to different studios, and eventually someone makes it. So I think that was what happened there. So John and Paul both love dinosaurs, and I think that ended up being almost like a gift for themselves to as a little bit of a joke, this dinosaur stop motion dinosaur advert. I love it. I genuinely love this advert, except for one thing which I'll get to later.
The initial idea for the film originated in 1986, Dinosaur that is, during the filming of Robocop 1987, in which Phil Tippett recommended to directors Paul Verhoeven that they should produce a dinosaur picture. Verhoeven responded positively to the idea and suggested an approach inspired by Shane, 1953, in which you follow a lead character through a number of situations and move from a devastated landscape into a promised land.
See, I rely on my flaky memory. You actually do the proper thing and look it up.
Yeah. Verhoeven then drew 2 storyboards and calculated the project's preliminary budget to be $45 million. Damn. When the idea was pitched to then Disney chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, he suggested that the project should be budgeted at $25 million. In 1988, the year my parents got married, actually, the project began development in Disney's live-action division, in which Verhoeven and Tippett had originally planned to use stop-motion animation techniques such as puppets, scale models, and miniatures. The film's original protagonist was a Styracosaurus named Woot, and I'm not even kidding, it's Woot, yeah. And the main antagonist was originally a Tyrannosaurus Rex named Grozny, with a small mammal named Suri. So it's roughly the same idea.
I never saw the finished result, and my little mini dinosaur rant is, when I was a kid, this must be about
when I was a boy,
1989, 90, I got huge into dinosaurs, like massive into dinosaurs,
as every child
does. And then a few years later, by the time I was like, no longer interested in dinosaurs, then that's when the big dinosaur movie came out. I always felt a little bit pissed off about that. God damn it, where were you when I was into dinosaurs? I like the first movie. The rest of them, not so much.
Yeah.
I've not seen the new ones. Not interested.
Well, see, I grew up with all those movies as a kid, so I was before the age of discrimination and being able to discern what's good and bad. It was just Dinosaur, yay!
No, you're the age when you'll be discriminated against watching good movies.
Yes.
Anyway.
So that was surprising. I didn't realize there was that much of a connection between dinosaurs and RoboCop.
Yeah. I remember bringing it up, oh god, yeah, a long time ago. I'm sure our keen listeners probably tell you exactly which episode it was. I can't remember. And I'm not going to dig through a box full of old notes just to try and find it. Maybe.
And he's not kidding, viewers. He means a box of actual physical notes.
Yeah. My notepad, the glue's dead, so it's just falling to pieces. So whenever I've got a note, I just chuck it into a box. So I've got them. I don't. It's true. It's so true.
Well, you know what? If there is some kind of cosmic ray, storm, what have you, that bombards the Earth and all data is destroyed, you will be fine.
Well, if all data is destroyed, how is it not going to be unaffected? How's my cardboard box not going to be affected by cosmic rays?
Oh, cosmic rays only wipe out data and electrical equipment. Doesn't affect anything else.
Okay, so the novelization I've got in my hand right now is still going to be...
Future generations will not know what any Star Wars, Alien, RoboCop. They'll just be relying on the word of Alan Dean Foster. Horrifying.
They won't know that the George Lucas written first novelization of Star Wars was not actually written by George Lucas.
It was Alan Dean Foster, wasn't
I think it was ADF. I can't remember.
Whenever you're in doubt about who wrote a novelization, just say Alan Dean
Foster.
Foster, and 90% of the time you will be correct.
Oh, no, the other one I was hoping for, just off the top of my head, was it Whitney Schreiber?
Yes.
Yeah.
He didn't do a lot,
No.
but the guy who also does a lot is Peter David.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So,
Anyway.
this commercial we have right here satirizes the fuel crisis of the time and how auto manufacturers in the United States were slow to adapt to the new demands. So, in Europe, you had a lot of cars that were already pretty ideal for dealing with the energy or fuel restrictions. America, no, bigger is better.
We need to consume as much gasoline as possible, because that's America.
Yes,
Yeah.
shoots the ceiling. The SUX is stated to have a fuel efficiency of 8.2 miles per gallon. I'm not going to try and convert it
No,
to
I have
liters
no
per
idea,
kilometer.
but it's
'cause
not
too-
good.
Yeah, but 8.2 miles per gallon, and for comparison to a contemporary vehicle that was not thinking about fuel efficiency, a Pontiac Firebird from around the same time was getting at least 12 miles per gallon. And modern cars can get up to 55 miles per gallon, and even more if it's a hybrid, like 100 if it's a hybrid.
My hybrid is currently at about wavering between 4.5 to 4.9 liters per 100 kilometers per liter, something like that.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
insanely fuel efficient, which is one of the reasons I bought it.
Yeah. I bet you're happy about that now.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I have a 1996 Saab that needs premium fuel, so hey, it's just a weekend driver.
I still have used premium fuel, but because new car, but it's still like it's so good. it's really good.
Should have tried to find a diesel. But
Yeah.
the 6000 SUX is intended as a dig at the Pontiac 6000. The 6000 sucks is literally what it's saying. I've actually looked into the 6000, and that's, Malaise era vehicles. It stripped the joy out of everything, and even one of my favorite companies, Pontiac, it's just heartbreaking. The 6000. It looks depressing, but I did some digging, and some people say, oh no, it was actually, the SE model, I think it was. Hang on, do I have... Oh, STE. Yeah. Some people defend the 6000 STE. I don't know. To each their own. It's not as bad as the Pontiac Aztec. I encourage you all to look up the Pontiac Aztec. It was the death knell. The final nail in the coffin. It was just...
Oh fuck. Yeah, I'm googling it live, and what the fuck!
Ouch. Yeah.
It looks like someone's broken its nose.
Yeah, it's got
Oh.
like a cleft.
It's got a cleft
or
palate.
What do you call that? Yeah, cleft palate.
Fuck. Oh, God.
Kill me. Kill me.
There's a shot where someone's put a spoiler and gave it a green paint job like a combat car, and it looks even worse. Like,
Oof.
oh, God. Yeah.
Yep.
Just, no. That's a... Oh, God.
Remember, guys, this is the company that in its heyday gave us Smokey and the Bandit. It gave us Kit from Knight Rider.
You look like crap.
Fuck you, kid!
This feels like it's got some Team Knight Rider bullshit going on.
Oh, yeah.
Ouch.
It was a sad, slow decline. Thank you, General Motors. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, so particularly on the production of the SUX vehicle we see in the commercial.
Is that real?
Oh, what did you find?
Someone gave the Aztec a Trans Am makeover with the Firebird on the bonnet. Oh,
You gotta send that to me.
Fuck, that's... Oh, God. That's a cursed image. That's a
Yeah,
cursed...
please send it to
I'm
me.
sending it to you in the chat right now. Oh, fuck.
Thank you.
Oh, fuck.
So, the SUX of the RoboCop universe, two complete, fully operational XUX cars were built with parts for a third one, that the production people blew up in Dallas. From the beginning, they wanted a large four-door saloon, one that could be modernized to look a little bit more futuristic. So, for the basic body, they chose a 77 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Cutlass Supreme! That's a song from Tenacious D, Wicked Destiny. Mainly because it had an interesting door window line. The front section was removable as one piece and had a large air intake at the front and covers the whole front bonnet and headlights. The actual auto bodies themselves were made from fiberglass components. They mocked up the sucks in metal foam plastic and then took molds and did all that. The wing mirrors were made specifically for the car. They actually did customize the rear, which is interesting because you never see that.
No.
And I don't know what they thought they were going to do with the car, or if they had any plan before they actually customized it.
I guess it's probably one of those things where they weren't 100% sure what shots they needed, so they probably just did it, and just in case they needed a shot of the car from behind. That's probably it.
So, if you want to know more about the arse end of this car, they bothered to put two upper air intakes behind the door at the rear, a large triple exhaust in the center, and higher above the ground than usual, and rear brake lights, the left side that is shaped like an IL. I don't know what that means. And it also doesn't appear to have indicators. And the rear window has a windscreen wiper.
No indicators, so it's a Perth car, not an American car. Hey-o!
It's a BMW. The engine and interior were left unchanged from the original Oldsmobile, which I'm glad about that because it's stressing me out hearing all the stuff they did. It would never be recognized.
Well, again, unless there's a specific shot that called for an interior of a car, and I think only car heads are going to really notice the difference. Like, it's not like Kit where you're spending so much time inside the car with Michael talking to Kit. You just don't bother.
I think I know Kit better than I know my own body at this point.
What's that mole doing there? Why isn't it on Kit? My only real note is at second 32, we have a cameo for noted director and killer John Landis. Here's my other note. Father of alleged sex pest, Max Landis.
How are they related? It's very unfortunate.
Father and son. I've not heard some great things about Landis, but I must admit, I'm looking at his career, and it's like, man, he's got some good films here. And he's also got Oscar with Sylvester Stallone.
Well, that's the thing. At least John Landis is talented. He sort of,
Yes. Max Landis
he's
is...
something.
No. So it is one of those weird things. I think,
Have you watched Max Landis on Red Letter Media?
No. Do I want to?
So they took it down after all the allegations came out, but someone's re-uploaded it, and they've just, done a highlight reel of it, and oh my god, it is the cringiest thing. He's one of those uncomfortable people who's like,
Yeah.
We're having a good time, right, guys? That was a funny joke. Oh.
Yeah, like, I can almost smell my own when it looks like, weird, uncomfortable guy, but at the same time, it's like, he isn't And the thing is, it sounds like he got away with a lot of shit for the simple reason that he's John Landis' son. It's really much that thing where it sounds like all the shit, his career and everything is all because he double-backed on his daddy's clout. And it's like...
Yep.
Like, the only thing I know for certain I've seen of his is he did a little mockumentary called The Death and Return of Superman. And
yeah, that was the first thing I heard, and he was actually pretty cool back then, and all the nerds loved him.
That was a fun thing, even though I really didn't agree with... Because I like that series, and I've read it, and I really enjoyed it, but it's like... So, yeah, it was a bit over the top, but I realised it was parody and satire, but it was just that thing, it was like, yeah, he got some things wrong, but for the purposes of comedy, yeah, whatever. And then, yeah, all the shit came out, it's just like, wow, this guy's an asshole.
Yep. Now, the final note I have for this minute is that the news segment says that a peace platform has accidentally lost control of its laser weapon. A peace platform
I know.
has a laser weapon, and it's accidentally destroyed acres of wildlife.
Yeah, media watching just completely glossing over it. It's just like... oh, I love that so much.
It is so true, though. That is so accurate to real... the indifference of the media.
Yeah, and it's almost like, oh, the space laser is misfired. Oh, those jokers. Oh, God, yeah. I missed Media Break. It's funny to realise like how little it's actually in this movie, but it's such a good part of it.
Yeah, it's at the right moments.
Oh, that's it.
It's quite surprising they put it in. I mean, it does feel like this is an act break, but it's just like, oh my god, so much emotion, and stress, and we've gone through all, and now to the news.
It's such great emotional whiplash in the best way possible, and it's not like this movie hasn't done this previously. It has this whole thing where it just shifts the focus of the narrative completely at a moment's notice. It's a great tool that I think this movie uses incredibly well, because let's face it, do we really need to watch Murphy and Lewis escape the cops and drive out there, drive to the thing, or should we just do a quick cutaway and go to something else, which also releases the tension? Tension release is a thing. I think it's almost underrated now, like how important tension release is, and this is one of the reasons I am very hypercritical of particular people who love to just ramp up the tension and hold the tension and keep building the tension. Fucking Man of Steel. And to the point where, so as much as this is why I hate when people keep going about, oh yeah, you get these Marvel movies, they're making jokes. It's like, yeah, it's actually really good actually to sometimes have a tension break to come down off moments of like, high drama or high action, something like that. Tension breaking is a good thing. Don't dismiss it because you don't like the funny jokes or the unfunny jokes in some Marvel cases. But yeah,
yes,
I love... I genuinely love this one. It's so good. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is tone and establishing what you can do with that particular story you have.
Yeah. If this had been a movie where this is the first time in this movie where it cuts to a commercial and media break, and it hasn't done it before, it would be horrible.
Yeah, it's smart that they did it way up in the beginning of the film. So, that's actually sorry, I'm moving around and you get in my chair making noise. I was putting my pants on because I was podcasting in my underwear.
Theatre of the mind.
Yeah.
I'm always without pants.
Yes, so you're establishing that you have the what are they called? The muses, I think. The Greek chorus.
Yes.
The Greek chorus. Yeah, you got this Greek chorus at the beginning, so you've already established this is what we're going to have throughout the film. Actually, the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet does the same thing, where the narrator for that is news reports.
Well, Romeo and Juliet is Shakespeare, so you've always got the peanut gallery and that, and also Baz Luhrmann does that thing where he introduces, at least the first 3 movies, the curtain is actually a visual aid to let you know that what you're watching is theatre and fiction. So therefore, the rules of reality might not necessarily apply. This is going back to the previous episode, I'm talking about Superman, how it starts off as a comic book, inviting the reader to realize that this is not reality, this is heightened reality, this is a reality where a man can leap taller than the highest building and run faster than a locomotive. It's framing devices, and framing devices are good.
Yes.
So quickly, while we're talking about the media break and all this, this is from the commentary, and I love it. It's apparently there was a critic, I think it could have been for the LA Times, when they were doing a screening, when it cut to the Dinosaur commercial, they stormed out into the lobby to tell them that they accidentally switched the reels. And I love that so much. They apparently got really angry that they did this in the movie. But apparently they hated the movie anyway, so... I love when movies do stuff like that, though. I love playing around with the medium.
I wonder, because I'm always talking about everything relates back to... Yeah, I don't know if Stanley Kubrick was trolling, but the opening 3 minutes of 2001 where there's just noise and no visuals, like, that's got to be a goof.
It feels like that's a thing that would go wrong, but no, that was Kubrick just being an asshole. Oh, yeah. The better story of that type of thing, because this was an actual thing this was actually a thing that went wrong. And Monty Python and the Holy Grail is the classic story where they were doing a screening of it. They hadn't fully finished, so they didn't have a title sequence, and so they just had some text on screen, and then the projection shut down. Like, I think there was a mechanical error or something like that, and people started bursting into laughter because they thought that was a deliberate joke by the Pythons, because it's Python.
Yeah.
And so that's how the intro title sequence of Holy Grail ended up with all those jokes, is because of a real life technical failure. The original
happy accident.
Yeah, the original title sequence was going to be more akin to what I think ended up being like the second title sequence, where it's the Terry Gilliam animation after they've given the quest for the Holy Grail. It was going to be something akin to that. Was going to be the opening sequences, but no, they went with plain text and all that, just because of that one screening.
Do we have any more notes for this minute?
I forget the commentary. Again, the script is pretty much verbatim. There's not much going on differently. The book, however, this is the extended bit of dialogue after Lewis rescues Murphy, or rescues RoboCop. This is Lewis. She got behind the wheel and gazed at the fragmented features of RoboCop. "You're one sorry-looking son of a bitch," she said. "You should see the other guy," he half-smiled. Yeah, I don't think I need to say anymore. That's it. I was like, oh, I hope that was not originally in the script. That's just so bad. That's just so bad.
That sort of, wisecracking kind of that's actually why a lot of Marvel movies frustrate, because a lot of the characters end up being that. Like, Doctor Strange has never been a wisecracking anything in his life. What are you doing? But, in the case of RoboCop, oh my god, just imagine that. Oh,
Well, in this part of the movie, as I said, it's also one of those things where RoboCop is still discovering himself. And yeah, we're probably saying at this point, yeah, he's probably Murphy.
unless it's like in the second one where they try to make him more obnoxious.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Where it's very unnatural, and yeah, okay, that actually works because Murphy the man was not like that.
Yeah.
He was very reserved, and so to make him obnoxious like that, yeah, it is this dehumanizing, horrible thing.
Well, even when we see Murphy in this movie, like, he's a light-hearted guy. He does, like, have a little bit of a quip there, but that relationship, no, I don't even it's not in the movie. Well, for starters, I don't even think it was really in the book. So it's like, it just feels like a moment played for, like, lightheartedness in the book, because I don't think they, could just do anything else. But, oh no, there is something in the script. I just remembered. There's actually a different commercial. And commercial number 5. The note is, music up, the song is I Love Detroit. The description is, lots of brass and percussion, fireworks over the city at night, and 3 dancers, a woman on roller skates, an enthusiastic businessman, and a black man wearing a lab coat.
Okay.
They sing to, the lyric is, I love Detroit, it's the place to be, business and pleasure, the sights and the weather, Detroit's the place for me. Sponsored by the Committee for Corporate Concern. I kind of wish I'd seen that now. It's like,
Yeah.
what? 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 No. What? It's just, I must admit, sometimes I wish I could exist in the alternate universe where this movie was more true to the original script. Probably wouldn't be as good.
No. What we got was perfection. You don't try flying too close to the sun there, Simon.
My last bit of notes is from the commentary, and I love this. This is from Paul himself.
The more I see the movie and the more I listen to the music, the more beautiful it gets to me, The more I feel that we were really going against genre and not, like you said, we didn't fill it in with all this kind of bang, bang, bang music, isn't it?
And I briefly mentioned this in the last minute, but yeah, the music in this scene is haunting. Like, it really sells the emotion very well. I love this piece of music in here because it is utterly tragic.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing... It doesn't stand out in stark contrast against what everyone else was doing in terms of composers and music at the time. It's just how it's done. It's all familiar instruments, but the way... And especially the way it's used within the context of the film. As we see in the remake, you can't just slap that song in anywhere and hope that it's going to have the same effect. No.
No. And also, like... I'm not a music guy, but it doesn't sound, it's not a song that, it's not music that's like overly bombastic or it's overly complicated. It's not got like a bajillion instruments, and it's not doing that Hans Zimmer just assault of sound. It's subtle in ways. It's like Paul's described it as dreamlike. It's like when he's in the house, so it's got this ethereal qualities and stuff like that, and it all fits. The music is consistently great throughout, and I can't imagine replacing that music with anything else. And yeah, if this was like violent music or like very heavy drums or anything like that, I think it would have actually detracted from the tragedy of the scene, which I think is it's amazing how people often will dismiss sound mixes of music sometimes. Like,
I mean, there are really heavy soundtracks that I love. I mean, Judge Dredd, or Dredd, I should say, or Mad Max Fury Road. But I think they're both Junkie XL. But
they fit the
Hulkenberg.
But they fit what's going on.
They fit what's going on. But also, there are a diversity of tracks, and there are sadder, slower ones.
Yeah, and one thing I think a score should do is be not necessarily consistent in regards to, it has to all sound the same. And no, it shouldn't. But it's consistent to the tonality of the movie, and particularly the tonality of the scene.
Yeah, and I think that was what I was about to say, is that, well, actually, those slower, sadder tracks in Fury Road don't feel like they belong with the rest of it. It's just like, okay, now we're just putting on the brakes, almost literally.
Yeah, well, Fury Road, I think, is a great example of what I was saying about tension breaking and stuff like that. You got all this high octane shit going on, so sometimes you just need to just cut that shit out when it's over. And one of my favorite moments in Fury Road is the moment where Max goes to take on the bullet farmer, and it's all done off screen.
I'm a layered farmer.
And it's one of those moments where it's like, if that had been any other director in any other movie, it'd just been yet another action sequence. But in this one, like, it didn't need to be, because we know what happens through context clues, and it's just a great moment where, like, Max goes and deals with it, comes back, and he's got an extra boot, and he's got the he's got all the stuff that he needs for them to continue on. It's brilliant.
Yep.
And it didn't need to have another high tension thing. If anything, that also helps break some of the tension that was building up with them being trapped. So again, great tension breaking, great storytelling. This is why people like George Miller are great at their jobs. And I'm still pissed off. I met a person that went, Fury Road is the most boringest movie they've ever watched. I'm like, were you fucking blind? Everything happens in that movie.
I think they just want to be edgy and different for the sake of it.
Yeah, but they're a boomer, so
Yep.
they're not edgy. They're just old assholes.
Yep. Do we want to move on to gaslighting RoboCop?
Alex, how do you feel? I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
I've got nothing to say about that, but yeah, let's go.
Alright, 80 begins with the interrogation continuing and ends with the flashing lights on the back of Murphy's cycle. And I've got to say, those are pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
They're not... I don't think they're big enough. And then it got... I don't even care about motorcycles normally, but this, I went down a rabbit hole, okay? And I went, okay, first of all, yeah, those are too small. I don't think anyone would even see them. For practical police purposes, I don't think anyone's going to be able to see those, so make them bigger. But the motorcycle was designed in part by Vitaly Bulgarov, I believe that's how you pronounce it. And he does a lot of digital cyberpunk art. It's just all over Pinterest. And
oh my god.
He did the concept art for...
Was this entire movie made by Pinterest?
It could have been, actually. He also did the concept art for the live-action Ghost in the Shell, so I think people find him on, this art website. Oh, God, what's that?
DeviantArt?
ArtStation.
ArtStation.
Well, not no one's on DeviantArt anymore, but ArtStation, yeah, they find him on that and then hire him through that. But, I have a mixed feeling about his art. It's very beautiful, it's very good, but it's also very clean and modern, and it lacks a soul. So perfect for both Ghost in the Shell and RoboCop. But production started with a Kawasaki Z1000. They stripped it down to the frame, extended the swing arm to increase the overall length of the bike, and clad it with a fiberglass-like shell. Then they hid the exhaust, did post-production and special sound effects work to remove the sound of the motor and replace that sound with a beefy electronic whir, quieter than the roar of a Kawasaki Ninja 1000, but far noisier than, say, an electric Zero DS, whatever that means.
I have no idea.
But yeah, that's something I think about a lot in terms of how much the engine of a vehicle is its voice. And so... In Knight Rider, that happens a lot.
Engine,
Christine,
exhaust,
of course.
Yeah, engine and exhaust is basically the two things you can modify to change an engine, to change the voice of a car. That's not synthetic.
Like a V8 has a very different presence to a V6 with turbos or whatever. But
that's all on turbos, yeah. Turbos, we can add the whine, and you can get amplification through your exhaust, and you got bends and like physics, acoustics.
Yes.
That's it. It's acoustics.
So in Knight Rider, they come across this a lot because they obviously don't have the ability to completely block out the real sound of that Trans Am. But sometimes they put that little whir over the top. It's like, just trust me, it is a turbine engine. It is. But it's so important in how the car expresses itself. So they seem to be very selective about it on Knight Rider. But yeah, I wonder about future electric cars, especially in fiction. How are we to display the aggression and the action if it can't growl?
Well, I've mentioned this in the past. I'm absolutely certain I've mentioned in the past. Is that there is a technology we can just. Well, okay. So going back to what I was saying.
You can add it, but that would make you just a big old knob, wouldn't it?
But no, because that's what they do anyway. That's part of what sound design is. So, yeah, the real world is always not going to sound the same, and this is the thing that Hollywood, like, I'm looking at the Ghostbusters Afterlife and the Ecto 1. The Ecto 1 didn't sound like that. It's a sound design, you know.
Yeah.
It's.
But when a car is actually electric and within the story is electric, I'm wondering what they do. But yeah, you make an interesting point because the indicators. Initially, indicators were mechanical.
Yeah.
The sound
The
was
click was
mechanical. It was just a result of the technology to make that light go on and off.
Technology Connections does a really good video on that about the mechanical indicators and how they've progressed, and how they had to add the sound back in because it's weird not to have the sound.
It's playing through your speakers. You don't realize it, but your indicator sound is actually playing through your speakers.
Yeah. Yes. It's wow. Yeah, it's weird, but can you imagine driving a car and not hear that sound? You'd probably think your car's broken.
Well, so Nissan, I believe, just filed a patent for a manual electric car. I'm very curious about how this will work because in order to, if anyone out there has driven a manual car, you will know, you're mostly shifting gears by sound. So what's going to happen with this electric vehicle? Does it whine at a higher frequency? What happens?
You can still... Actually, the funny thing is I never did it by sound. I always did it by a speedometer.
Which you can also do, yeah.
That's how I was taught. So you could still do that, but what's the point in a mechanical electric car?
It's fun. It's fun.
Are they?
Yes.
As much as
I love a manual.
No. It's not the manual part I have the issue to. It's the fucking electric part. I drive a hybrid, but I don't do fancy speedy. I'm not Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I am.
I'm slow and curious.
I'm all of it. I'm definitely Need for Speed limit, but when it comes to the mechanical stuff, I love messing with that.
Yeah, just so imagining someone like, eek, eek, eek. Fuck. That's just, oh god, my brain just went to a really stupid place with mechanical electric cars. It feels like the kind of thing Mr. Bean would drive.
Yes. So they wanted RoboCop and the bike to merge into one shape, sort of like in Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
Which in turn was an idea from Sid Mead. But way back in the original production for the first Tron, technology just wasn't there to do that kind of animation with shapes other than, basic geometric ones. So, 30, 40 years later, they were finally able to do that in the newer Tron, and then I think that's basically the design aesthetic that this RoboCop is going with, and I guess that's another reason why it is quite disappointing that RoboCop as a concept it's cyberpunk, it's futuristic, there's so much you can do. I mean, I love cyberpunk. It can be quite derivative, but that's what draws me to certain genres, because I go, this has solidified and settled into a certain thing, so I want to see where people take it from there.
Well, that's it. I mean, a genre can be defined by things like aesthetics, or it can be like, storytelling tropes and stuff like that. I think cyberpunk, that term evokes so much. Like, Blade Runner is essentially the almost the first thing you go to and think of when you think of cyberpunk as an aesthetic. To the point where you get that cyberpunk game, and it's just all it's doing is cribbing aesthetics. It's definitely not cribbing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely not cribbing the genre.
Yeah, that it Cyberpunk the game, I think, is highly derivative, and I mean that game has a lot of issues, but visually it is derivative. And RoboCop the remake, I think, actually went the wrong way of, instead of trying to go in that fantasy heightened direction, it just went, let's just make it as real and stripped back as possible, which, you know what? I think if RoboCop visually was this crazy over the top thing to begin with, like some kind of Tim Burton, heightened reality, and then you try to strip it back as much as possible, that could be really interesting, and you could say something with that.
Well, the original movie is essentially what the 80s would have imagined what the future dystopia would have been like. Very much crime-ridden. The corporate buildings are massive and tall and taking over. So it is taking the modern idea and extending it out. RoboCop has an aesthetic. Yeah, it's still very 80s, and we all still identify it as 80s. We're still half the time perplexed. It's supposed to be set in the future. But it has a look that feels separate from the modern, even back then, the modern day.
Yeah, RoboCop has a look.
It has an aesthetic, it has a look, and it helps with the genre that it's going for. Roboflag just feels... It's supposed to be a movie that's set in the future, but it just feels like it was shot 10 years ago. Because, well, it was. But it doesn't have a visual language beyond RoboCop himself to a certain degree, because nobody's wearing futuristic clothes, and no one's wearing punk, no one's wearing maybe the businessmen very modernized, but they're still businessmen. I will refer
to my other Movies by Minute podcast, Prometheus by Minute. Prometheus looks like Prometheus. Nothing else looks like Prometheus, and that's what I'm hoping for, is that Prometheus looks like our current idea of the future. It's just visually so good. I could go... Well, I went on for 120 episodes about how good it is visually.
As much as I have issues about Prometheus as a movie, the visual aesthetics and the visual language of that film is phenomenally good. Giant rubber men aside.
Yes. I don't think we have that many modern visions of the future that really stand on their own 2 feet. And I think Prometheus is one of the few examples that... It's not trying to be anything else that came before. It's just its own thing. It
isn't even trying to be like Alien. Like it doesn't feel like Alien Redo. It just feels like its own thing. It feels like and amazingly, it still does feel like it's a part of that universe. The problem with Prometheus compared to Alien is that it feels like a sequel, visually, aesthetically speaking, rather than a prequel. But it works because it's rich prick technology.
Yes. Rich prick technology, yes. So that's... Oh, actually, my last note was, he's solving his own murder. Oh, that's genius. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, Hiccup.
Hate that line. I was almost going to write that down.
When you think of what? I don't... You thought that would have been a good idea if you had actually sent him out to solve his own murder? And then what? He live tweets about it?
But this is the other thing. You didn't even blank his memory, and it's taken him this long to think, oh, maybe I should try and find the people that murderfied me? Fuck.
And my final note is that clear phones are dumb, and I need to say that every single time. So, Simon, where can we find you?
You can find me at Helios Photos and Fandom Crossing, primarily on the Facebooks. And where can the lovely viewers find you?
You can find me at traviandesigns.com, patreon.com/traviandesigns, Greatest Regeneration on Instagram, where I relive the 1980s in chronological order, and Courtney Colson on YouTube. And I am slowly able to edit videos, but I'm basically blind. My mother's laptop is a piece of shit, it barely works, but I can sort of edit videos.
Yeah.
It's just the replay doesn't really work, so I can hear what I'm editing, but I can't see it. You can find us where all good, mediocre, and bad podcasts are found. We will let you decide what quality our podcast is. And also find us on YouTube. Smash like, smash subscribe, all of that. Maybe we could be monetized.
Smash the state.
Monetize us to the moon, baby. Yeah, we on Simplecast, we're on Spotify, and until next time.
The RoboCop SUX is a large four-door executive type car with large reclining leather seats, cruise control, a blown cuff radio, and mileage of 8.2 miles per gallon.